Right, so here we have two examples of the Agrax shade, the Matarian Grime. The Matarian Grime just isn't that great for what we need. Doesn't really show up what we require. So, whereas the Agrax shade, as you can see, is a much better colour. So that's what we're going to go with. So we will Agrax shade load those. We're doing second coats on loads of those. I've got a load more others like sitting in a box ready to go, and so that's what's coming up. Right, so all of the bone is done on the models. Now what I've decided to do is, before we move on to Reichlin Flesh Shade on all of the bone, my army is largely sort of like the main vampires and things are black. So what we're going to do is we're going to do a band black on the on the hair and things. I've also painted the all of the metal that multiple of these units have in lead belcher. Because of course what is going to happen is when I Reichlin Flesh Shade the bone, it's not going to make it's not going to make a huge issue about getting onto getting onto the black and the silver. So we're just going to take a we're just going to take a fine detail brush for these bits, and then what we're going to do is just detail these fine hairs. Which will grow across the entire model. It will be easier and much easier to see on things like the the crypt glass, the courtiers, because of course they are larger. So these would take a bit of a larger brush. And what we'll do is we'll do the standard sort of like bluish, dark reaper type grey to layer them up. But we'll do this across the entire army, well, across the entire unit even. And then we will then I will Reichlin Flesh Shade the bones, and I will Nuln Oil this black and the and the silver, these little silver bits under here and things. Then we are just going to move on from there. Right, so all of the bone colours have been done. Also paint the eyes a bit of corn red, and as you can see, start highlighting Nogrin camo. So what we're doing is just getting all of these raised edges started on here. If you look, just getting the raised edges just to bring the highlights out on the model. We're doing it with Nogrin camo, and we're using the finest of details of brushes. So this is what's going on. Then on the bone, what we're doing next is a Shabty bone to start bringing up that highlight. So that's what's coming up. I'll do all of those pieces and we'll see the next bit. Right, so we have painted black all of the creatures. So what we're going to do is we're going to take some Dark Reaper. I'm going to layer it on this, so just highlight all of the edges like this. So we're just bringing out the highlights with Dark Reaper. Just to cover the edges. Like so. Then next what we're going to do is do a bit of Thunderhawk blue on the other side. Where it's dried. There we go. And then we're just going to go down, part way down here. So I'm going all the way down, so obviously the Dark Reaper will still show. And then at the very tips, what we're going to do is we're going to just finish it with Thunderhawk blue. Sorry, from Reason Grey. And this is what it's going to look like. As you can see as well, I've started to use Shabty Bone on on these. So again, what we'll do is take a mini, get some Shabty Bone. And then we just want to dry brush nice and lightly. And just bring out these. And again, this is you know, this is the sort of effect that we're going for, which we will finish off with some nice highlights of Screaming Skull. But that's what I'm going to do. I've still got a fair few minutes to do, so we'll do those bits and we'll move on to the next bit. Okay, right. So all of these bits, all of the bits done. On all of the bones, we're going to start highlighting edges on Screaming Skull. What I've done on all of these loincloths, because my colour scheme is black and purple, is I've painted them in Nagara Night, and then what I'm going to do is bring them up with some Xeris purple and highlight with Gene Sealer pink. On all of these robes, dudes, so we've got like little bits of robes down here. There's a better one where here on these. What we're going to do is we're going to paint it in Beyblade brown, because I didn't want like cream colour for dirty wraps to offset the bone. On these on these skeleton guys, there's also a rope around here, which I did in Rhynox hide. And then I've done it in Xeris purple. This is this is dried bark. It's black and it's brown. And then I'm going to Beyblade brown it, and then I'm going to do some Agrex Earth shade and some Matarian grime. But we're, as you can see, we're very nearly done. These guys have, you know, we're almost there at the finale. So we will do those bits. I'll show you some highlights as well in a moment from the Screaming Skull, and then we'll move on. Okay, so right, so the highlights are done on all of the on all of the bone, as you can see. Brought all of these up. Which we've all just touched with Screaming Skull. Next, what we're going to do is we're going to do some fun little technical things. On all these metal pieces here, what we're going to do is we're going to do typhus corrosion and a bit of rise of rust. And that will bring us up with this sort of like, you know, rusted metal effect, which is what we want for all of these types of creatures. Next, there's also, where is he? This guy here, who is carrying this corpse. As you can see, there's sort of like still fleshy bits with on the thing. So what we're going to do is we're going to start to do some decaying flesh with Ricard flesh. On the inside of the body pieces as well, what we're going to do is start with some screamer paint. So that's what we're going to do, and then we're also going to finish up with some blood for the blood god. Some really nice, awesome technical blood and guts type effect on all of these. But we're pretty much there. They could they could be like finished if we wanted to. I mean that would, but what we're going to do is just do some really nice fine finishing details just to really bring them out. And here we have it. So they are completely finished. Need a little bit of basing, but as you can see, all of this red, this blood effect, is from Blood for the Blood God. It is genuinely their best technical paint. It just looks, yeah, absolutely amazing. Makes just blood effects look so much more disgusting on creatures. I mean, just look at it. And so here we have it. Here's a comparison, really, of, you know, like a spray black creature. There we go, look. So these are spray black versus, you know, versus my Wraithbone. As you can see, you know, this is the green here is a perfect example because there is exactly this. It's Deathworld Forest versus Deathguard Green, but otherwise it's a very similar sort of like, you know, shades and things. This is black as well, spray black. I'm pretty much entirely spraying black because there's still like some tiny like little blemishes that just annoy me, like on the heels here that just it doesn't come up on like on black. It just doesn't show up to the same extent. I always prefer black, it looks better, but there are like some colours that you would want to do in things like Wraithbone. Like if you're doing, you know, like yellows, things like Flash Git, Yand and stuff like that. Wraithbone is just a much better choice because obviously layering up in yellow is just much harder. It doesn't come across to the same sort of like extent that you want it. But otherwise, like there's very little difference. Black is genuinely, I just prefer it. I think it's much better. Next, what I have is, for my next example, is I've been commissioned to do a Riptide, which I have already sprayed in Mephiston Red. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to show another colour yet again in a different spray, and this will give you sort of like an example of yet another another spray. So that's a commission that's coming up for a customer. I've also just recently ordered like an entire Slaves to Darkness army. So I mean there is like a lot that's coming up, a lot of Slaves to Darkness models. So stay tuned for that. I hope this has been informative. I hope this has been enjoyable. I hope, you know, that you've been able to see the differences and everything else, and this has helped you. But thanks very much for watching. Please leave a like and a comment, and I will see you in the next one. And one last thing, I don't know why, but for some weird reason I've lost the start of this video, but at the start what I did was with these with these guys, I did two very light colours, like dry brush coats of Deathguard Green. It gives that lighter tone than Deathworld Forest, and so it just gives a better look, I think, for as you saw from the ogre. But obviously, you know, unfortunately we lost that bit, I don't know why. but it's all turned out just as great as what we needed.